top stories, and a 46-year-old woman has been charged with murder following the death of a 10-year-old girl on the Gold Coast. Joining me live is crime expert Dr Terry Goldsworthy. Thank you so much for joining us. So just looking at the latest information from Queensland Police, so they've arrested a 46-year-old Carrara woman at a nearby street around 10:25 p.m. yesterday. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, look, at this stage, it's a fairly confronting crime scene from all reports. I mean, the initial reports indicate that the young girl had been killed via a sharp implement or a knife. You know, we know about 40% of homicides in Australia are committed using a sharp implement or a knife. So it was quite confronting for the emergency services personnel who went there. They did have some information from a male relative who had contacted police at the start. So I think police had some indication of where they may be looking for the suspect in this matter when that occurred, and they did resolve it fairly quickly. I think 10:45 last night they located the woman alleged to have committed the offence and arrested her for murder.
And again, we're waiting to hear more information, but there was a conference last night, I believe, and that talked about there's been some counselling for the people, the authorities that attended that scene. As you mentioned, it certainly sounds like it was confronting. What is needed here in terms of the counselling? From your experience, what will be looked at here?
Yeah, look, these things are what we call critical incidents, and after a critical incident, there is always follow up in terms of the mental health of first responders. You know, they're exposed to very traumatic incidents, and what they see, they'll always remember. You know, in my time at police, I was involved in investigation of about 25 or more homicides, and you do see the worst of humanity when you're looking, going through and doing those jobs, etc. So it's important that people receive the appropriate care and assistance and support when they go to jobs like that. And that's even more so when you're talking about vulnerable victims or more vulnerable victims. And that's such things as elderly people or young children. And we know about 5% of the homicides in Australia last year were young children. So when those events occur, they can be especially traumatic for people who may have their own children and then start to, you know, I guess, assimilate what they see on the road when they're going to these jobs to impacting their own families.
And again, we can't talk too much about this particular incident until we hear more from police, but the area where it occurred, we're seeing on screen people talking to the media and talking about that area and their thoughts and their concerns. Describe to us, Terry, that the area in Queensland.
Yeah, look, it's a family-friendly community. I mean, it's a normal suburb on the Gold Coast. It's not a rough area. It's not known for crime, etc. I mean, this incident is certainly not a random act. It looks like it was an act committed by people who knew each other through some association. More details and that will come out, I'm sure. But at this stage, you know, it's not something that the general community would need to worry about. I mean, these incidents happen, and I guess we just have a look at them as they occur and see what can be done to perhaps avoid them in the future. It's not a general crime issue in that regard.
And if we do talk more on a general crime situation, we do often hear on a daily basis some terrible incidents like this and many others. What are we seeing across Australia in terms of, again, not talking specifically on this story, but crime in general and fatalities and the like?
Yeah, well, what we know about homicide in Australia, we have a very good report comes out every year, and it tells us that the homicide rate has increased slightly in the last year. In overall terms, though, we've been measuring for 30 years, and that's down about 65, 66% or thereabouts. It's decreased massively over the years. In terms of children there, as I said, about 5% of the incidents involved children. Now, most of those, unfortunately, are what we term filicides, where they're killed by a parent. There are very few stranger murders of children in Australia. They're mostly children killed in some form of relationship.
All right. Well, thank you, as always, for your time and expertise, Dr Terry Goldsworthy, and we'll talk to you again very soon. Thank you.